Hi everybody. We're looking at my Gourami tank here. For no particular reason, I just fed it some sinking shrimp pellets there on the bottom, and we're about to just see some frenzying loaches, and everybody's going to be dashing and darting and swimming everywhere. I just did some work in here. I went in and cleaned a lot of the plants out. I opened it up and let a lot more light get in. I removed a lot of the water that was very tannin stained, so it's much more brightly lit than it has been recently. So I thought I would just sit here and get a little bit of look at my fish darting and dashing around, because they really are pretty when you get the nice vibrant light on them. I've been thinking more about doing some more videos about lighting on my tanks, and talking about color rendering and the difference between 2700K versus 6500K. We all know that these have an impact on plants. Whether you understand exactly what that impact is or whatever is irrelevant. Everybody thinks about lighting in terms of the color spectrum that are good for plants, but what about the color spectrums that are good for us to look at, that make our fish look the best and the way we would like to see them the most? What colors are brought out in the fish more readily by various lights and types of lights. And this isn't really going to be that video. This is just sort of popping into my head. I literally picked up my camera and decided to start shooting, and since I started talking about lighting, those kinds of things crossed my mind, because I do think about lighting a great deal. I just don't talk about it nearly as much as I think about it. So I guess I will collect some thoughts one of these days here real soon. I'll do a little bit of research and get my P's and Q's all in order, so I'm not just whipping some stuff off the top of my head that may or may not be accurate. I don't like doing videos too unpreparedly. I like to get out. There we go. I was hoping my red-tailed loach would come out a little bit. I do like to, brush up on my P's and Q's and just sort of refresh my memory about, all the various aspects of lighting and, what types of lights produce what spectrums of light and so on and so forth. There's a ton of different lights out there. You can go everything from, metal halide, mercury vapor, just standard fluorescent tubes or compact fluorescents. You can do LEDs or incandescents or any combination. There's tons of different lights, and each one has its own pros and cons and drawbacks and whatnot. Who I'm really hoping to see here is on the far left. If you can see my Striped Raphael kind of tucked into the corner there, that's kind of his little cave now. And now that he's sort of established that as his cave, he doesn't come out and swim around the tank as he was for a little while. And last time he was out and about, I was shooting a lot of video of him, and I did get a comment from somebody along the lines of, all right already, we've seen a lot of the Striped Raphael lately, show me some other fish, which is fine, but at the same time, I know my tanks and I know my fish, and I know that if I get a week or two where that Striped Raphael, for whatever reason, is coming out a lot, I'm going to get as much video as I can, because he will then go away for long periods of time again as well. I've had him for, I don't know, maybe 4 years now. He's one of the earlier fish I bought, and he just doesn't come out a lot. He's not a super active fish. He's a really cool fish, though. He's definitely not one of the reclusive ones that I wouldn't bother to buy again. I do have one of those fish in this tank, though. And when I say one of those fish, I mean a fish that I wouldn't really buy again if I had the opportunity. Right under this corner of rock, I have a South American bumblebee. At least that's where he usually is. That's kind of his house. And sometimes when I feed and the loaches are doing what they're doing now and darting and dashing around down there, it will startle him out, and we might get a little tiny glimpse of him. So if you do see some unfamiliar fish, or if you saw one earlier in the video when I didn't notice, that's what it was, or what it will be if you do see it. It's a little South American bumblebee. I used to have a South American bumblebee jelly in this tank, but I believe it ate an otocinclus one day and died. I found it in the morning, and it had a really strange distended shape. Oh, we got a little tiny peek of his face sticking out there for half a second. It had a really strangely shaped distended part of its belly, and I believe it was because it swallowed an otocinclus. And otocinclus are spiky little catfish that most other fish won't want to eat. I did get a video one time. I'll attach a card of my tenopoma striking at an otocinclus, and I'm sure he didn't know what it was. It was on the other side of a leaf. He struck it from the back side of the leaf and actually just ripped the leaf and tore the little otocinclus right through the leaf, and then promptly spit the otocinclus out like it was made of fire. So I'm assuming the spikiness inside of the mouth of that fish was not a pleasant experience, and I can only imagine what the poor bumblebee jelly must have felt after actually swallowing one of those odos. I can't imagine what it did to its inside. So I think that's what did that one in. But whatever, did it in, it's no longer in this tank, and I now only have that little South American bumblebee, which is a much, much smaller, much, much less aggressive fish, which is why I can now have neons in here. I could never have neons before because that bumblebee jelly would just gobble them up. So now I'm actually able to have, there's my red tail loach again. He's another reclusive one. He's pretty cool, but he's kind of a jerk. And he's really reclusive, so I don't get to see much of him. And when I do, it's just kind of what we just saw there. He darts out, he grabs some food, and he dashes back in. And then he goes in the back and he hides in his little cave. And if anybody gets near him, he chases them away. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap that up. Like I said, this was not ever really meant to be anything special. And if you're familiar with me, you know I've got the gift of gab, and I could just sit here and look at this tank and chatter away all night. And I don't want to do a 2-hour video of me just rambling away in front of a tank. So I think 6.5 minutes is about enough. So thanks for watching this one. If you're not subscribed, please go ahead and do so. That way you don't miss anything. You really do never know what you're going to get from me. It could be anything from random stuff like this to more how-to educational kind of stuff or whatever. So if you're subscribed, you won't miss any of it. So thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you real soon on the next one.